I'm going to take a break from talking about bikes to talk about this doorknob. This doorknob does not return, and that's annoying. There's a spring in there that is broken, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. The door hardware people don't make this easy because there are dozens of different springs. If you look on whatever, anywhere, you can see, if you type in doorknob return spring, you will find dozens of possibilities. So it's not just like, oh, get the spring. There are two screws here. I just loosened them. This is an exterior knob, obviously. That's why there's the latch for the deadbolt. But I'm gonna just finish loosening this up. So that's what it looks like without it on. And let's show you the back of this thing. Here's the front. Here's the back. And this particular company is called Prowell. I have no idea what that is. I've tried to look that up. Couldn't find anything. And in here, there should be a spring, and that spring looks like this. This is an original spring, and these are hen's teeth to find. I thought I was smart, and I ordered these guys on Amazon. And I'm like, okay, that looks like it's a good match. So you want to make sure that's a good match. And this inside diameter here, that would be about 1 inch, 25 point something millimeters, I think. But this does not work on this hardware. So if you look carefully, you'll see that the original one, which is the one that way, it's got 3 windings rather than 2. And if you also look, you'll see that the wire of the replacement is just a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit thicker than the original. So what I thought was a good replacement is not. So I spent way too much time trying to find this one. Could not do it. So this is the only one that I have of this set that's not broken. So I need to make one. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Most often when I'm in my shop, I am working on bikes, but this is a day for making springs. So I got this wire. This is called music wire. I don't know if you can make that out. And this particular one is 1.19 millimeter or 0.07 inches. And I chose this to match the gauge of this wire here. And it's hard to make out, but this is pretty good in terms of thickness. So the lower one here is the actual spring. And notice if I'm using the replacement. So this is the Amazon one that I bought. By the way, this was about $8 for 5 of them. But if you look here, you can see that the gauges, again, the lower one is the replacement spring. It is slightly fatter. And yeah, it turns out it matters. So, like I said before, the original has more windings than the replacement I bought. And I could not find any. Maybe you'll have better luck. The ones that might have worked for this were about 12 to 15 bucks each, and some of them you still had to pay for shipping. So that's where I decided, okay, I'm going to give this a shot and try to make my own rather than maybe just continuing to throw money at this problem and have no success or frustration, wasting time and money. So I know what this size is here. This inside diameter is about 1 inch, right? Here's my wire. And by the way, so this came, I bought it at Ace. There was a 4-pack. These are 3 feet long. So there it is. 3 feet long times 4. And they were like about less than $3. So that makes a lot of springs. So I've already made a few of them so far with success. So that's why I've decided to share this information with you. So maybe I can save you some time and frustration. Anyway, this is what I decided to use to help me make the spring. This is part of a tap and die set. So they call this sometimes a T handle. Well, I really got that in there, which is good. So you usually put a T in here, and then you run a tap in here if you're tapping threads or cleaning threads. And then sometimes I call them a tap wrench. You don't have to use this, but you need something to hold your wire that you can wrap it around that's going to be strong. And so I'm, again, going to really get it into my bench vise. If you can find another way to do it without a bench vise, good for you. I don't know that I could. The other thing I like about this is it has a place to hold the wire. So there's this, you can just put it all the way through. So see how it comes out the other end. So I'm going to use that. The other thing that I discovered, which is to me counterintuitive, is that you don't want the exact diameter when you're making your spring. So I thought, oh, I should have a 1 inch something to wrap this around. And that was wrong because you have to take into consideration that there is some flex in these things. So you actually have to wrap it smaller, and then when you're done wrapping, then it'll expand. And as long as I have found that if you're in the neighborhood, so even though they sell these down to the 0.1 millimeter, like whatever, 25.2 millimeters, you don't have to worry about that. Here's how you do it. So I'm just putting this wire through here, and now I'm gonna use a pair of lock jaws. And the reason for the lock jaws is because I'm gonna stop this from moving around too much. So I'm not clamping the wire, but I wanna reclamp this. I wanna wind it, but I don't want to move around so much. I wanna try to keep my windings pretty tight. So now I'm gonna just take this and start turning it. And I'm turning it pretty tight. And the reason why I'm going up like that is because I am going up. And I'm pulling as I'm turning. And I just went around 4 times. All right, so see how it just literally, now it's a spring, right? So I'm gonna pull it tighter again to try to get that a little tighter. And maybe I'll go around a little more. Might want to wear gloves for this. Anyway, so here is the spring. And then this just kind of lifts out now. So here's my original. Well, as you can see, it's a little bigger, so I might try to get that a little tighter yet. So I'm going to put this back down here and just give it a tug. I'm really working this. So you can see that if it was 1 inch, there's no way that it would be even close. But now you can see it's a little tighter than the last time. I just yanked on it real good. So now, here's the original diameter. And now you can see that's pretty close. Is it perfect? No. And turns out, as long as you're pretty much in the neighborhood, you're okay. All right, so now at this point, I want to have the same angles. So if you look, this little ear here is at a right angle. So if you think about this as just a perfect circle, right? Then this would bisect it. So this is just a simple right angle in the wire. So this angle here, it was good before, but now you see how it's not going to work because it's going the wrong direction. So I'm going to actually take this and not use this because I'm just, for metal fatigue, you know, this is going to be stressed thousands of times. So just cutting this, right? And then, so this little tab here, again, they're very specific with the millimeters and stuff, but as long as it's long enough so it doesn't get in the way and long enough to stay. So there it is. I'm just gonna kind of tweak this a little more, right? So if I need to, I can still trim it. And then this other side, so it looks like I'm gonna have to put a little more, because remember what I want, like going back to my original here, right? So I want 3 windings, and after I made that bend, I've got 2 windings. So I'm gonna put this back in here. And I'm going to try to do it with just brute force because I should have wound more. As you can tell, I'm not an expert spring maker, but you don't have to be. There, so there's an extra winding now. Right, so now I want this. Right, here's my template. This is actually the other template, but it doesn't matter because it's the same gap here. So now I've got 3 on this side and 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to bring this back a little bit because what I want to do is have this gap here about the same, right? So that's gonna be somewhere in here like this. Something like that. So now I'm gonna bend this again. So this should be about 90 degrees to the circle. Now trimming it. Again, trimming it longer probably than I need. And if I need to, I'll shorten it. Okay, so here's my original spring. Here is the one I just made. And you can see it's not a dead match, but 2 windings on the top, right? Same gauge wire. And then 3 windings on the bottom, right? And this is going to get squeezed together here. So the fact that there's a little more space, I don't have to stress about that. And if you look, the ears are not exactly spaced right, but we've got some play here, right? So again, I don't think I'm going to have to worry about that. Worst case, you know, I've only used about 30 cents a wire here. So if it turns out that, oh, I really blew it, it's not much of a risk, right? So I'm going to give this a go. I think this could work. Probably going to end up trimming a little bit. So I should, let's be somewhat consistent. That, and what the heck. So let's give this a go and see what we got. Again, worst case scenario, we make another one. Here's one return spring. You can see the ears are broken off. Here's another one, just one ear is broken off. Once they break like this, there is nothing to be done. Here's a third one. So you can't use these. And that's where my last remaining original one, which was in here before when I took this out, this was the one. So what I had done was pirated this out and put in a different one to get to use more often than the one that I'm working on right now. And once again, the one that didn't work, that's the Amazon special. And here's the one that I just made. All right, so not as pretty. Let's see if we can get her to work. So again, you will find that there's not a whole lot of consistency in terms of size, but the general way these work, there's only a few different styles of these. So I'm sure this style has a particular name to it. I don't know what that is called. Looks a little like maybe alien antennae. So this is a pair of snap ring pliers. I recommend you get some of these to work on this kind of thing. You can get these at Harbor Freight for about $5. You can get a full set on Amazon for about $20, give or take, depending on the quality. You don't have to use like super nice ones. These things are often held together with a snap ring. So if you look right there, that's the snap ring that holds the knob in place. Right now, by the way, this knob just spins, right? So that means when you're trying to open the door, you can open it and you can close it, but there's no return. So hence the name return spring, right? If without a return spring, then you're just doing this. And also if you open the door and then close it without turning it back, the door will not latch. The door doesn't latch, of course, then your door is hanging open. So there goes your security, and there also goes your heating and cooling bill in the wrong direction. So the snap ring has 2 little tabs on it, and these little points fit inside the holes in the tabs. So 1 and 2, and then I'm just squeezing them. I'm pushing down a little bit to make sure they're really inside. And now I'm just lifting this snap ring off and setting that aside. And now this assembly is going to slide out the whole thing. Might have to like jiggle it a little bit. Yeah, so there, this is going to come up. You don't have to take this apart any further. So this has a C-clip on the top. You don't have to remove that. There's an extra washer here. You don't have to remove that. Extra spring, you don't have to remove that. So you're just setting this assembly aside for the moment. And now that you've got this clear, it's a good time to do a little bit of cleaning. So a little bit of alcohol, soap and water, anything, make sure it's dry when you're done. And I have just a little bit of household oil here. And I'm just using this right around here, just getting in there so it'll turn more easily. And you can see there's a score here, right? That's where the spring was dragging. So I'm gonna oil that. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my spring, and these are very specific how they work. So see this pin here? This tab here is gonna get hung up on the pin, and then this tab has to come on the other side of the pin, right? So I think a pair of needle nose pliers is the best call on this. So I'm just kind of grabbing it, and you're probably gonna have to wrestle a little bit. It's not gonna maybe come quietly. But it will eventually come. I'm trying to not grab it by the ear itself, or the tab itself. I'm so close. There. So you want it to look like this. So now the tabs are on either side of it. All right, and you can see it wants to pop out, but we're gonna wrestle that back down. And we're gonna push all the way so the entire spring is sitting below like this. All right, so the next part is you're gonna take this assembly and put it back in. So see this tab here? This tab is gonna go right between these two corners. So see how there's a corner here and a corner there? So the tab is going to go right between the two. So right where the screwdriver is, I want that tab to be. So there's only one way for this to go. See these slots here? And that shape fits in there perfectly, right? So at this point now, I'm actually using the handle to help me wrestle it. See how I'm turning that like that? And I'm pushing down. Again, it may not like it right away. There may be some wrestling involved. But eventually you want to get that. All right? So see that? Now that tab is right between the two. So you got the pin on top, and then the tab are right between. Okay, so now we're going to replace the snap ring. So I'm going to put the snap ring back in. And there is, in this particular one, there are actually two grooves. So there's an upper groove and a lower groove. You can barely make out the lower groove. It's right next to the washer. That's where it needs to go. If you put in the upper groove, you're gonna have a lot of play in your door handle. You don't want that. All right, so there it is, but see how it's not in yet. So I'm just gonna take a flat edge, just kind of work it around. There, that's the sound I want. There. So now you see it's really in that groove. And now I have a latch that's going to return. So I'm going to put a little more oil on this before I call it good. Again, like anywhere where I think that there might be friction, I'm not soaking it, but I am being thoughtful about this because I don't want this to fail. I guess they will eventually, right? Because it's just a spring, right? And so thousands of times later and years later, it's just after a while they're gonna go. But for the moment, we're done, right? So notice it's not quite perfect. So if I had my original spring, where's my original spring? If I had my original spring, these two tabs might be really snug up against this pin, but it's returning, right? So it's gonna work. So now I'm just gonna go back and take this and stick it back on that door, and I'll show you what it looks like. All these door sets are basically the same, but the details are different. So you may have a different style, obviously, and a slightly different way that this attaches. But most often you're gonna have to take off the interior side first. Again, this is the interior side. All right, so there's the deadbolt. You can see as I operate that, it works. And then here is the latch. So if I open this up, right, that's what I need. So that latch pops out, and then it closes, and now that the return spring is in there, it goes back to its neutral position. Sounds like I need a little bit of oil since this hasn't been used in a while, but that's all I need, not much. Okay, I'm gonna call this good.